lot of nuts!
What up, hyenas, and welcome back to the SumitoMedia channel, where we're gonna be talking about anime. You know, the thing that I've always done and always will continue to do. This is nothing new. Anyway, I recently watched through all of Chainsaw Man, as well as the Chainsaw Man movie. Spoilers, I'm gonna spoil some of the story from the anime. I haven't read any of the manga, so anybody who knows what happens in the manga, you're probably safe from anything that I say here. But there was such a point when watching through this anime where I felt like it felt a little slow. It felt like it didn't have as much action as like Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer, but I think echoing a lot of the sentiment of what people talk about when they talk about having seen Chainsaw Man, there is something very special about this anime that I feel like speaks to me personally as like a internet dwelling, you know, meme goon, that I feel like this anime captures so well that I feel like isn't done in any other anime outside of like comedy animes. And I think there's something really special here, and I wanted to talk about that. So Chainsaw Man opens with our main character Denji, who you might recognize from the "he's just like me for real" meme, and his dad has just passed away, leaving him with an incredible amount of debt that he owes to the Yakuza, that the Yakuza is now holding him responsible for. Just before leaving for the first day and telling him, "I don't care what you do, either make the money or we'll just chop up your body and sell it to make some of our money back," he bumps into an injured devil, a small dog by the name of Puchita, that he names Puchita, that's got a chainsaw coming out of his face. And in this world, these things are called devils. The entire world is infested with devils that have different powers, and they're named as such. And the devils are named based on how dangerous they are. Basically, the more dangerous they are, the more crazy of a name they have, is basically how it works. So Denji teams up with Puchita in order to hunt down lower level devils. He like kills like the tomato devil for a dude who owns a farm, makes some money, and uses that to try to pay off the Yakuza. But he's like stupidly poor. He lives in like an abandoned shack. The only food he has is like pieces of bread that he shares in half with Puchita. And like he dreams of like the most mundane shit. He is so poor that like the dreams that he has are of having a topping for his toast, or of having sex or romantic interactions with a girl. Like he's so vocal about these really obvious things that are sort of like in the background of what like a teenage character would want, but like Denji speaks them out in a way that's like so like, I don't know, over the top obvious, but it's like really funny and really endearing to his character, and we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, the Yakuza baits him into what they tell him is a job, but he ends up in a warehouse where it turns out all of the Yakuza have been transformed into zombies by the zombie devil, and he's been baited into joining this, you know, being turned into a zombie or whatever. They kill him, and it flashes back to earlier where he's talking to Puchita and he's saying, "Hey, don't devils normally eat humans in order to grow stronger? If I die one day, Puchita, I want you to eat me so that we can still be one being and live out some of these fantasies of having toast with honey and all this other mundane shit." And that's basically what happens. After Denji's body gets thrown into a dumpster, his blood mixes with Puchita's, and then he becomes a combination of devil and human that they call Chainsaw Man, and then goes on this incredible, you know, action-filled spree of killing every single one of these zombies and the zombie devil. And it's super, super well done. It's got all the action you would expect out of like a high-tier anime, right? Cut to the following morning, and the reports of this zombie devil growing stronger has reached out to the organization that handles public safety, basically. And Denji is met by Makima, another, I don't know, hybrid devil, whatever. She works for public services and she has powers, and she walks into the warehouse, sees everything dead, and sees Denji basically catatonic, and then asks him, "Hey, it seems as though you have become a devil. You are an issue to public safety. You can either be killed by me right now instantly, or how about you come work for me? I have a job for you." And Denji either doesn't respond or basically collapses backwards, and Makima like grabs him and like embraces him, and Denji immediately has these feelings of like, "Oh my god, this woman is beautiful. I want to touch her breast. Do you think she'll let me touch her breast? I'm alive. I almost died. Puchita saved me somehow. We are still together in this body that we now share. I'm gonna try to accomplish some of the stuff that we dreamed about. Let's see where this goes." They hop into a car and they start heading out to the headquarters for public safety to get Denji set it up and ready to be part of them, right? At which point Makima like shares her coat with him and tells him everything's gonna be chill. They go and get food, which I will remind you, this kid has literally eaten nothing but bread in his entire life. So he is completely infatuated with this beautiful woman who is treating him kindly, which is something that I guess he has literally never felt in his life. They go to get noodles, they get udon, and she's like, I need you to listen to me and follow my orders. If you do not act like an obedient dog, you are useless to me, and my dogs do whatever I tell them to. And one would imagine that any other main character in an anime would have an ego, recognize their power, but Denji has been so like empty. He has been so taken away from every single aspect of life that people enjoy. He has known nothing but poverty, pain, and suffering, that he is literally barking for this woman within hours of meeting her, just happy to have noodles and ramen and broth and a coat to wear on his thing. There's this beautiful woman that's treating him nicely. He is immediately at her feet, willing to do whatever they want to. It's a very interesting, like, maybe I just haven't watched enough media, but this is like a trope that I haven't exactly seen. This like incredible like slave dynamic, basically, of this kid being willing to do whatever they want to, but also being the main character and like the person whose story we're following. It's a real like yin and yang thing going on, and I thought was interesting, to say the least. Makima breaks down the job to Denji, which is basically they are devil hunters. They are killing dangerous devils that appear in the city in order to maintain public safety. Many of the people who work for them are either devils or fiends, devil-human hybrids that are working for this organization. It's a tough job. People die. It's super duper dangerous. And Denji basically asks like the stupidest question. He's like, do you guys have food? And they're like, yeah, we have a cafeteria. You can have sandwiches and whatever you want. And he's like, do you guys have toast? Do you guys have toppings for toast? And she's like, yeah, Denji, we have whipped cream, we have honey, we have peanut butter, hazelnut spread, whatever you want, dude. And he's like, And like in his head, he's like, holy shit, my dream is coming true. They have food. They have toppings for my toast. I don't just need to eat bread. And so Denji's like, okay, I'll do it. And she's like, all right, great. I'm glad it took that much convincing. She pairs Denji up with Aki, a more senior member of this task force, and sends them off and is basically like, hey, pay attention, do your job. And again, if this doesn't work out, you are useless to me. I will just fucking kill you. So make sure you work out, because I can't just have a dangerous chainsaw idiot running around that I can't control. Him and Aki go out, and Aki basically doesn't take them to the job. Instead, he takes them to like a dark alleyway and just punches them in the face and shoves them in the trash and goes, what exactly do you think we're doing here? And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, this job is fucking dangerous. The people who are doing this are doing it because otherwise they would either be killed or end up in jail. You have the opportunity to not do any of this. What is your purpose here? And he's like, Makima's hot, and she hugs me sometimes, and they have toast with toppings. What the fuck else do I need? It's so funny. Like, the absolute moral dedication that this kid has to this job is not because his parents were killed by devils, is not because he wants the world to be a better place. It's simply because he's sick of eating bread and getting no bitches. And that is enough to put his life on the line for this public safety job. So Denji decides that he does want to be part of this operation and get along in an effort to keep his job, simply because he one day wants to touch a woman's breast and maintain the lavish lifestyle of being able to take baths, sleep in a bed, and eat toast with all the toppings that he wants to, and even kicks Aki in the balls, and they end up back in front of Makima, basically going, I don't exactly know if we're gonna get along as a team. And Makima basically just sweet talks Denji into, come on, you'll do anything for me, right? And he's just like, yes, sir. Absolutely, Makima, I will. Makima orders Denji to live with Aki because Aki has a house and Denji, like an apartment, and Denji's fucking homeless, right? So he's enjoying his whole lifestyle of not living on the streets and being able to eat food and sleep in a bed and everything. Eventually, she introduces him to yet another partner by the name of Power. Initially, Denji doesn't like the idea because she's like loud and egotistical and all this other stuff, but upon closer inspection, he noticed that she owns a pair of boobs And immediately Denji's like, wait a second, maybe this will work out actually. This is on par with my life goals of one day fondling some titties. Fuck it, let's try and make this happen. Power is the blood fiend or the blood devil. Most of the fiends in this world have like the fish fiend will have like a giant fish head and stuff. Power ironically only has a couple of blood red devil horns, so she's very human-like in appearance, which is convenient for Denji because he presumably is only attracted to human women. I don't know. They have an entire arc where she like tricks him into bumping into the bat devil who has stolen her cat, which is like the only thing she cares about in this world. They go through this whole thing. He ends up saving her and saving the cat, and as a result, she thanks him because he has shared with her his ideals of why, you know, the driving force behind why he continues to live his life, which is touch boobs, kiss a woman, eat good food, that sort of thing. So after this entire arc of her betraying him and then him saving her, and now they're cool, right? She rewards him by being like, I will approve you of fondling my breasts. And this is after meeting this loud, narcissistic, obnoxious, egotistical girl who literally clogs the toilet the first day that she moves into Aki's apartment, and Denji's like stuck scrubbing the shit from out of the toilet. She pops up, corners him in the bathroom, and goes, I'm gonna repay my debts. You have earned this. I will let you touch my boobs. And Denji finally does. He's been a fucking demon hunter for like 3 days, and already he's about to accomplish the goal that he one day could have only dreamed of just a week ago, which is fondling the breasts of a girl. And he reaches out and he grabs them, and it's underwhelming, right? Immediately the first time that he grabs them, she has like bra pads that fall out, so they're smaller than he thought they would, but also he kind of feels nothing. His face sort of goes blank. She's like, okay, we're done. Hope you enjoyed it. You got to touch the magnificent power, and then like struts out with all the confidence in the world. Meanwhile, Denji's just there, empty-faced, realizing that like this massive goal that was driving him forward was kind of overrated when it actually became reality. Denji at this point enters like a deep depression because, like, as stupid as it seems to Denji, this was his life's driving force. This was the reason that he's risking his life. This is the reason he's even making an effort to continue to live at all. And now that he's achieved it, he feels like his life is meaningless. He had this whole interaction with Aki where Aki was telling him, hey, this shit is dangerous. Those of us who are doing this aren't doing it because it's kind of fun and we want to keep up our life. This is life and death for people. I suggest you find a driving force that's a little bit less stupid. And to Denji, he's like, I mean, to me, it's important. Food and boobs are important. But now that he's felt Power's boobs, he realizes that in pursuit of the goal, he had all this energy. But now having achieved his goal, he's like, I don't know if this is actually going to be enough to keep me wanting to hunt devils for the rest of my life. Makima notices that Denji is depressed, and Denji shares with her that one of his life goals was to touch boobs, and the other day he got to, and now he's wondering if any of the desires that he has in his life actually have any meaning, because this one definitely fucking didn't. And Makima grabs his hand and puts it on her boob, at which point Denji's face like lights up. A completely different feeling from when he did it with Power, right? And she explains to him that these things of intimacy have their meaning because you know the person. And once you know somebody and have like an understanding of who they are, only then can you appreciate these moments of intimacy. You felt nothing with Power because you had just met her and you didn't care all that much for her. Whereas with me, because you're basically in fucking love with me, it means a whole lot more, right? And Denji's like flabbergasted, red in the cheeks, can barely contain his excitement, and has like a revitalized new energy to continue to do the job. Makima also like bites his finger and tells him to remember the feeling of her biting his finger so that he recognizes it later. Just doing more shit to keep him trotting along like a helpless little puppy dog, continuing to do the work that she wants out of him because she recognizes that he is so motivated by her showing him these bits of affection. At this point, I think it's important to note that like Chainsaw Man is very much a meme. It's very much like this modern era anime and manga where they recognize that a lot of the appeal to like the Gen Z crowd or whomever to their media is going to be being a little bit silly, a little bit off the cuff, a little bit out of left field. They're going to take beats and tropes and sort of turn them upside down, make fun of and satirize these more common angles that anime and manga have had in the past in an effort to sort of create their own little bit of a self-aware thing. But they do it so well, in my opinion, with Denji. This kid is like discovering humanity. He's not just at no point is he really discovering what his powers are. Slowly over time, he learns that as Chainsaw Man, he can drink blood to stay as Chainsaw Man and use his powers differently and change different limbs. That sort of happens, but it isn't like in Demon Slayer where they learn a new move and like 3 episodes are dedicated to remembering what your father taught you in a fever dream to unlock a new thing. No, most of the stuff with Denji is literally like him drinking a new soda or eating a new food or seeing a movie for the first time and stuff. And like his development in becoming just like a well-rounded human is the character development that we discover, despite the fact that he is still fighting stronger and stronger devils, and this world and the chaos around him is slowly being revealed the way that it would be in an anime. It's very well done. Chainsaw Man does this a couple of times where they'll sort of showcase Denji's childlike desire to just pursue anything that might lead to him getting with a woman, with him facing like very serious things, and then Makima sort of taking advantage of this. In one of the middle episodes of the season, they meet up with a bunch of other devil hunters, and you are introduced to a number of different characters, one of which being Himeno, who wears an eye patch, and is later revealed to be the one who trained Aki and basically brought Aki onto the force, right? So she's like the sensei of his direct sensei sort of thing, right? The teacher of his teacher. And she recognizes, she asked Denji, hey, what's up? How you doing? What's got you going? And he's basically like, I want to get with Makima. I think I'm in love with her. She's going to be my first everything. And Himeno immediately recognizes that Denji is persuaded and encouraged, motivated by women. And so she's like, listen, if you do a good job here and we make it out of here, how about I promise you a French kiss? Basically playing on these same strings. Denji obviously is immediately infatuated, but is met with a conflict of like, oh man, I thought, I didn't realize I would have a choice between girls. I mean, man, I was thinking of Makima and only Makima, but now there's this other girl who's also saying she'll give me a kiss and I've never kissed anybody. Like, how do I play my cards here? Anyway, they get trapped by the Infinity Devil on one of the floors of this hotel that they're investigating. They get trapped in time and space. Watch the show. Obviously, Denji turns into Chainsaw Man. There's a bunch of internal conflict. He kills the devil. They make it out. All good. After they all manage to escape the Infinity Devil, they head out to an izakaya as like a welcome party for all of the new recruits. Makima's there, everybody from the previous expedition is there, and they all get into a massive drinking competition, basically. At which point Makima, very drunk, or not Makima, Himeno, very drunk, eye patch girl promised the French kiss, very drunk, turns to Denji and goes, hey Denji, how about that French kiss I offered you? Let's do it right now since we made it out of our mission. And Denji's immediately met with like, oh man, Makima's here. Like, I don't want to do this if it means giving up what I might have with Makima, but in a moment of like drunken lust or whatever, she kisses him and then like immediately pukes in his mouth because she's so drunk. I think in the manga he like swallows it because he's so used to being poor that he'll just swallow anything that ends up in his mouth, is like the thing that ends up getting censored in the anime. It's one of the grossest parts of Chainsaw Man, and I think went viral when it was a thing that got adapted or whatever. But the important thing is that it's immediately ruined, right? Denji finds himself outside the izakaya moping in the rain because like a traumatic fucking experience, right? He's under the impression that this was his first kiss, something he's been dreaming about yet again, but just like the situation with power, it turned into this horrific experience, and he's once again met with this idea of like, man, is any of the shit that I thought life was worth living for worth living for? Like, this was the stuff that was getting me out of bed in the morning. This is the reason I'm risking my life, and every time I reach one of these goals that I've dreamed about for so long, it just ends up exploding in my face. Like, what do I do? And just like the first time, Makima comes outside and meets him in the rain, meets him with like some nausea medicine or something in order to help with the feeling that he's having. And he once again shares with her. I mean, I can't believe this happened again. I mean, I thought this would be my first kiss. This would be special. I don't think I'm ever going to get the taste of puke out of my mouth. And Makima, just like the first time, she takes a lollipop, a chupa lupa, I think they call it, out of her mouth and like puts it in Denji's mouth and basically just goes like, you're probably never going to forget the taste of vomit in your mouth. There's going to be 1,000 other things that are going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. The best that you can do is try to cover them up with the taste of things that are good. Your first kiss might have sucked, but hey, this indirect kiss isn't going to taste like vomit. It's going to taste like Coca-Cola lollipop, right? And just like last time, Denji's immediately given a completely new look on life. He is once again revitalized and has learned a bit about humanity and what it means to have goals and set them and face setbacks and what have you, directly due to what we can start to see as like Makima's manipulation of his very childlike outlook on the world. The rest of season 1, as well as the Reze arc movie that more recently came out. This anime is from like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago at this point. I'm very late to talking about it. They do a lot more action. They do a lot of very cool, like I always love when shows have different characters. In One Punch Man, when they have different powers. In Jujutsu Kaisen, which has been one of my favorite examples recently. Everybody's powers and how they utilize them and like the strategy behind them is always great. There isn't as much of that in Chainsaw Man. Like, yeah, there are different devils. You know, the entire first arc is all about the gun devil and the fact that he's powering all of these lesser devils, and that's what they've been fighting so far. That's the big bad in the first part of Chainsaw Man, and Makima basically offers sex to Denji. Like, I will go all the way with you if you find a way to take down that motherfucker. And that's sort of the whole driving force between that and the movie and everything. But the really special thing about Chainsaw Man when I was watching it was this philosophy of goals and what drive you with Denji, because obviously the idea of like what drives you is a very common trope in anime and manga, and usually it's I want to become the strongest, I have to avenge my family, I have to get revenge for the innocent people that were killed, and that's why I'm on team good side. But Denji is very much so, like, it almost seems like a circumstantial thing. Like, if Denji was discovered by the gun devil first, and he was the one who offered him spaghetti carbonara, well, then Denji might have been a bad guy. Like, he's got such a simple outlook on the way that he does things. He doesn't even really seem to have a decision between, or a distinction between, who's good, who's evil. There isn't even really like a morality thing behind it. In fact, in a lot of situations with like throwing cars and putting people in danger, he's a little bit reckless as far as we would expect out of the protagonist of a story. And it's all driven by the fact that he has such a simplistic outlook on his goals. This kid is driven by his infatuation with Makima, boobs and sex, and good food. And that's like the entire driving force behind him through like the first 6, 7, 8 episodes of this. And the constant bouncing between, you know, what drives Denji and then it being ripped away from him only to be saved again by Makima in order to showcase more of like what it means to live and have humanity amongst people is done quite a few times, and is done so well. At one point, Makima like offers to take Denji on a date to go see a movie, and he shows up like 3 hours early or something because he's just so giddy at the idea of hanging out with Makima. They go and see movies and they're all bad. They see like 8 horrible movies, and then they finally see one that's like great because Makima's like, we're gonna watch movies all day, like that's all we're doing, right? And she's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that movie. And Denji's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that movie. That one was fire. And she's like, yeah, I usually have to see like 8 or 9 bad movies before I get one that's really good, but it's worth it. And that thing that she says right there isn't a whole thing, isn't, I don't know if is necessarily supposed to be another one of these Makima moments where she's like teaching Denji about life having ups and downs and you have to take the good with the bad, the whole yin yang thing going on. But like her saying that she's completely fine with going through a bunch of shitty movies until she finds a good one, to me is just another way that Makima is sort of teaching Denji, hey, life might not always be what you expect out of it or what you hoped it would be, but it is worth continuing through the shit, the garbage, and the sadness that comes with the disappointment of things not being as good as they are in your head to eventually get to the points that are so good that you will never forget them. Touching her boob, biting his finger, the lollipop thing, finally seeing a good movie. It's like, it's kind of beautiful. I don't know, the writer's kind of cooked. Chainsaw Man review, 9 out of 10. I don't know what to tell you. The animation's spectacular. The memes coming from the manga are great. Clearly, whoever is putting this together has a good understanding of mixing action and fast-paced storytelling along with world building and memes, a little bit more down to earth. And then the way that they work all this philosophy in with all of the rules about how devils work and how people get captured and make deals with them and everything. There's so much going on. The characters are so chill. Denji to me feels like such a unique character. 9 out of 10. It's a great anime. I think you guys should watch it. Thank you for listening to me yap about it for 20 whatever minutes. If you want more stuff like this, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more like it, and I'll catch you guys on the next video, yeah? Peace.